The Zephyrian High Command had made their declaration across every inhabited system in the galaxy. The Nexus Citadel was impenetrable. For 3 centuries, the massive fortress had stood as a testament to Zephyrian engineering prowess. Built into the core of a dead moon, the citadel stretched across 50 kilometers of hardened neutronium plating, protected by 7 layers of energy shields, and defended by automated plasma cannons that could vaporize a battlecruiser in seconds. No force in known space had ever breached its outer perimeter. The Zephyrians broadcast their challenge with characteristic arrogance. Any species foolish enough to assault the Nexus Citadel will serve as an example to others. We have perfected the art of defense. Come and learn why we rule this galaxy. Admiral Sarah Chen of the Terran Federation received the transmission on her flagship, the Indomitable. Her weathered face broke into a grin that her crew had learned to associate with impending chaos. "Ma'am?" asked Commander Rodriguez, noting her expression. "Orders?" "Signal Fleet Command," Chen said, leaning back in her captain's chair. "Tell them we found our new training facility." 3 months later, the Zephyrian monitoring stations detected the human fleet's approach. 200 ships of various classes moved in perfect formation toward the Citadel. At their head flew Admiral Chen's flagship, broadcasting a simple message. "Nexus Citadel, this is the Terran Federation. We're here for our training exercise. Thank you for volunteering your facility." High Chancellor Vextar of the Zephyrian Empire laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "Training exercise? These primitive mammals think our greatest fortress is their playground? Activate all defenses. We'll turn their fleet into cosmic dust." The Citadel's weapon systems came online with a thunderous hum that reverberated through the dead moon's core. Plasma batteries swiveled toward the approaching human fleet, while the 7-layer shield system blazed to life, creating an iridescent barrier around the fortress. What happened next confounded every military strategist in the Zephyrian Empire. The human fleet didn't charge. They didn't attempt a conventional assault. Instead, they spread out in a wide perimeter around the Citadel and began practicing. Squadron Alpha executed precision bombing runs against the outer shield layers, not to breach them but to test reaction times. Their fighters darted between plasma blasts like dancers, mapping firing patterns and identifying blind spots. When one pilot's ship took damage, he ejected and was immediately picked up by a rescue craft, only to return minutes later in a fresh fighter. Squadron Beta ran interference drills, using the Citadel's own defensive fire as obstacles to navigate around. They turned the deadly plasma barrages into a twisted form of target practice, their ships weaving between energy beams with increasingly reckless precision. Meanwhile, Squadron Gamma practiced their boarding procedures. They didn't attempt to breach the fortress. Instead, they used specialized pods to attach to the outer hull, drill test holes, plant dummy charges, and extract. Each raid lasted exactly 30 minutes before the humans retreated to analyze their performance. "What are they doing?" Vextar demanded, watching the tactical display with growing bewilderment. "Unknown, High Chancellor," replied his tactical officer. "They appear to be training, using our fortress as an obstacle course." For 6 months, this continued. Every day, the human fleet arrived like clockwork. They ran drills, practiced maneuvers, and used the Citadel's formidable defenses as nothing more than sophisticated training equipment. They tested new weapons against the shields, experimented with boarding techniques on the hull, and even began timing competitions between squadrons to see who could penetrate deepest into the defensive perimeter before retreating. The Zephyrian defenders grew increasingly frustrated. They fired constantly but rarely scored hits. The humans had mapped every weapon placement, timed every firing sequence, and memorized every defensive pattern. What had once been a source of pride became a daily exercise in futility. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson to Admiral Chen during one of their post-exercise briefings, "the Zephyrians have started randomizing their defense patterns." Chen nodded approvingly. "Good, we were getting too comfortable. Randomization will make this more challenging. How are the rookies performing?" "Better than expected. Having live fire to dodge really accelerates the learning curve. Casualty rates are down 60% from last month." "Excellent. And the new recruits from Tau Ceti?" "They've requested an extension on their training rotation. Apparently, nowhere else in the galaxy offers this level of realistic combat simulation." 6 more months passed, Word spread through the galactic community about the humans' unconventional approach to the Zephyrian challenge. Other species began to take notice, not of the impenetrable fortress but of the human fleet that used it as their personal training ground. The breaking point came when a delegation of Arcturian military observers requested permission to study human tactics. They set up viewing platforms at a safe distance and watched in amazement as human pilots executed maneuvers that defied conventional military doctrine, using the Citadel's own weapons as training tools. High Chancellor Vextar finally cracked when he received intelligence reports that 3 other species had formally requested the Terran Federation's assistance in training their own pilots. The humans were not only using his ultimate weapon as a playground, they were turning it into a business opportunity. "Enough!" Vextar roared during an emergency session of the High Command. "Deactivate the fortress. Shut down all systems. If we cannot destroy them, we'll deny them their training ground." But when the Zephyrians powered down the Citadel's defenses, something unexpected happened. The human fleet didn't leave. Instead, they adjusted their training protocols to focus on assault tactics against undefended positions. They practiced breaching procedures, interior combat maneuvers, and room-by-room clearing techniques. Within hours, the first human Marines had entered the Citadel through airlocks, maintenance hatches, and ventilation systems. They moved through the fortress like tourists, taking readings, making maps, and leaving polite notes thanking the Zephyrians for their hospitality. Admiral Chen's final transmission to the Zephyrian High Command was characteristically direct. "Thanks for the training facility. Your fortress is indeed unbeatable as long as nobody actually wants to beat it. We've learned everything we need to know. The bill for our services will be forwarded to your government. Professional military training consultation isn't free." The Indomitable and her fleet departed the next day, leaving behind a detailed assessment report that outlined 17 critical vulnerabilities in the Citadel's design and 43 recommendations for improvement. High Chancellor Vextar read the report in stunned silence. At the bottom, Admiral Chen had added a handwritten note. "P.S. If you ever build another impenetrable fortress, please let us know. Our pilots need the practice." The Nexus Citadel was decommissioned 3 weeks later. The Zephyrian Empire quietly removed all references to it from their official records, and never again claimed to have built anything unbeatable. In the archives of the Terran Federation, the incident was classified under training exercises, unconventional facilities. It became required reading at every military academy, with a simple note attached. When someone claims something is impossible to overcome, humans don't try to prove them wrong. They just find a way to make it useful. The galaxy learned an important lesson about humanity that day. They didn't need to conquer the unconquerable. They just needed to find a way to make it work for them.